Okay, this is an improvised story based on a two-word suggestion from Morgan Caulfield, my sister, cosmonaut, Russian, and spy. Okay, her two words were coconut and Republican, and I'm going to tell a story to connect the two. Jamaica was a weird trip because, I wasn't sure if they were going to have coconuts. I mean, I know that's one of those things you hear about or you associate with a Caribbean type environment, which, now that I think about it, geographically, those might be three separate places. The places with coconuts, the places with, the Caribbean and Jamaica. Like, these are all probably different locations, and it's probably revealing an ignorance I have for geographic happenings. So basically, but basically, here's the story, is that this guy I work with, he was in one of those kind of places. This was like when he was a kid. Not necessarily a kid, I guess it was more probably like early college. But a young guy, at any rate, he was young. And he was very, very liberal guy. Until this one particular incident where he was walking under a tree and a coconut fell. It didn't fall directly on his head, but it fell and it skimmed the side and scraped skin off. And he was hospitalized, for the incident for a good number of time, weeks. Like, it was an actual, there was head trauma and things of that nature. So what basically happened was the nurse that took the greatest care of him, she eventually kind of overstepped the boundaries of what's acceptable in terms of familiarity with the patient, and she expressed her own political views, and they got in a debate about it for a really long time, just over the fact that they had two very different ideals. And kind of what happened is, just through being patient, expressing herself well, and making clear and valid points for her beliefs, he actually became a Republican by being swayed by her. And that was you would think that's where it ended. He got better and he came back home, and shortly thereafter, he graduated college, and he got into national sales, where he was traveling the country, and lo and behold, at an airport, he runs into the nurse, and she doesn't recognize him right off the bat, but they start talking just for a little bit, and she remembers him, and he said, I want to thank you. You've really kind of opened my views politically, and you kind of made me see things in a different way. And she said, oh, well, I really don't give a shit about politics. It's just, I just was regurgitating what my grandmother told me. But, I mean, I'm glad that helped change you. And, if you think it's for the better, that's great. So, basically, that was the end of their encounter. It really didn't go beyond that. But it left him in a constant state of wondering, because just like the coconut fell on his head, as quick as that change he made, from being head and messed up head, he went from being liberal to Republican, and then now he didn't know what to think, because all the things the Republicans were saying, or rather this Republican were saying, sounded so good, but he was lied to. But lo and behold, this is not a metaphor or for politics or a little allegory or lesson. It basically just tells you the fact that nurses are lying bitches. That story is for my sister, who is a nurse.